Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of May the 10th, 2015. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. This week, early in the week, we have Mars changing signs. Mars will move into the sign of Gemini. Now, ordinarily, Mars moving into the sign of Gemini makes us super talkative. We want to talk to each other. We want to pay attention to each other. We want to communicate. We want to interact. Social media tends to be a space where we're able to do this that much more. And I do think that this tends to be a time, Gemini is the sign of the media, and Mars, wherever Mars goes, that space gets a lot of attention and gets a certain passion to it. So we should see, starting this week, right about now, some very passionate sort of stances that journalists and journalism takes. Now, this is starting this week and will be with us for the weeks to come. Now, this would ordinarily be the case, but what is special, what is different about what's happening right now is that as Mars moves into this new sign, we'll slowly but surely be perfecting a conversation with Saturn. Saturn standing across the sky from Mars. Now, this happens once every 2 years or so, okay? So it's not that often, but when it does happen, I'm going to be honest with you. And you know, I will always be honest with you. This is a conversation that, depending on where it is falling sort of in your chart, of course, some people are going to be more sensitive to it than others. But having said that, this can be a conversation that doesn't always feel very easy. And what I mean by that is a celestial conversation, yes, but also this is Mars in the sign of communication and conversation. And right now we have Saturn in the sign of Sagittarius, and this tends to be a sign of, it's not just about conversation, it's about conversation with purpose, with meaning. It's about truth and declarations of truth, if you will. What is true? And the way that we can, sometimes as people, as a way to, well, actually for a lot of different reasons, but as one way to try to give ourselves a sense of security, a sense of consistency, we take what ultimately is subjective and think of it as truth. And so this particular conversation to me says limits all over it. It says feeling as if you can't move forward at the pace that you want, feeling as if somebody else's ideology or someone else's beliefs about whatever the case may be, but feeling like it is in some way being imposed on us and in some way hindering our ability to fully exercise our free will. Now, of course, here's the thing with that. A lot of times, sure, there are cases when that may feel so. Now, first and foremost, this is a passing conversation, okay? It doesn't need to last. And it doesn't last, really. Everything in the universe is cycles. Everything astrology teaches us, if anything it teaches us, is that this too shall pass. So everything is always changing. This will pass as well. But the interesting thing about this particular conversation is sometimes, yes, it is that it is true, it is real. Someone else is sort of pushing their opinions on us and they're not recognizing its opinion. They're saying and they believe it's truth, and in some way it's impacting us. But most of the time, I would venture to say most of the time, that's not really the case. Most of the time we are projecting the ways in which we limit ourselves. So we are limiting ourselves in some way. We're holding ourselves back in some way. And we are projecting that onto another. We're saying, well, it's because of this person. It's because of you that I in some way am not able to do what I really want to do. And at the end of the day, that's not the case. At the end of the day, the deeper exploration here that we can find by talking it out is to understand where it is that ultimately something is opinion, something is belief, something is not based on what is actually happening, the reality of a given situation. And a lot of times I do think that we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and we sort of disguise that in the guise of a particular person, but the truth is it's us that is being hard on ourselves. So when I see this conversation, it can be, in all honesty, whether we're projecting it or whether it's actually happening, it can feel like someone else is sort of limiting us and putting pressure on us, or acting like a boss when they shouldn't be acting like a boss. But sometimes this can be really our own sense of where our limits are and where it is maybe we want to do something but can't quite do that something just yet, and to embrace that, to accept that. So that is part of the learning that's happening at this point. Now, what I really find very encouraging is, yes, we've got this. It happens only once every 2 years. And yes, it can feel tough for some people. If you were born in the first couple of days of your sign, you will feel this more than other people might. But all of us in some way will be feeling a sense of limits where we'd rather be soaring, where we'd rather be pushing forward. We're feeling, whether it's a wise strategy or whether it's another person saying, okay, rein it in a little bit, hold back a little bit. By the time we get to the end of the week, though, like this is happening around the middle of the week, by the time we get to the end of the week ends on a really, really sweet note. And it ends with Venus in supreme harmony with Neptune. Venus in supreme harmony with Neptune, both in water signs. I mean, this to me is being carried away by romance, by love, by fantasy, by art, by inspiration. This is great if you identify as an artist of any kind, particularly musicians or painters. But this is great for all of us. If you are just trying to, feel a sense of romance in the air, or to cultivate more romance and more soft moments with the person that you are with right now, we've got lots and lots of cosmic support to make that happen. Really, I do think, as I look at this, this is like the cherry that we've earned, right? After, it's kind of like, after you climb a really long set of stairs and you get to this beautiful pool with peeled grapes and beautiful people ready to tell you that you have earned your space in that spot. It really is like this embrace of luxury that happens after a little bit of trial. So I'm not saying literally that, I can't say, I just sort of imagined one of those, ancient Greek / Roman scenes for some reason. So I'm not saying that's going to magically appear. It might, but what I am using it more is as an archetypal image, and saying that sometimes we have to kind of go through these moments where things feel really heightened, and things feel like we can't move forward at the rate that we'd like. We have to be smart in those moments so that we can get to those other moments that are the exact opposite, that feel as if everything is going our way, that feel as if we can have anything we want, which we absolutely can, but that feels like luxury has bestowed us, whether it's pleasure or luxury or just good food, good times, good company, all of that, or just really good sense of being connected to spirit. All of that is very much on offer as we are finishing off the week. So that's the faith, that's the belief to emphasize this week and to learn the best that we can. And the best way we can learn with the activities happening in the middle of the week, the celestial climate in the middle of the week, is to understand the value of strategy. And that is something that Mars, a lot of people don't normally associate that with Mars, but when we understand Mars as ruler of Scorpio, ancient ruler of Scorpio, Mars has a side to it that is very strategic, that is able to really see to the core of an issue and to understand what it means to live from truth. And Saturn is really all about the big picture. It's about being strategic, but more about, okay, how do we get to the big goal? How do I get what I want? How do I get something that actually is going to matter for a very long time to come? If we emphasize those energies, we'll be able to use this time very much to our advantage and to accomplish a great deal. I will be honest, not the best time to have that conversation that you've been putting off. If you've been putting off a difficult conversation, this is the time to try to continue to put it off. If you can't help it, just keep putting it to the side. If possible, try not to engage this energy in a way that you think another person might act defensively, because then what you're doing is you are in their own sort of psychological drama playing the role of Saturn. So you want to avoid that, okay? And instead, pick a better moment, not this week, but at least pick a better moment a little bit further down the road, not that further down the road, very soon after this aspect is over and after this week is over. Mercury will speak in harmony with Uranus. And so if you can put the conversation off just a little bit, engage that energy, you will find that this fresh energy comes into the conversation fresh ideas, and fresh opportunities to have a genuine sense of understanding with whoever it is that you're thinking about having that tough conversation with. If you have a say, if you have the ability, try to put it off this week. But if it has to happen, it has to happen as part of our higher learning. And if it does happen, just trust that it is part of a larger mystery at play, moving us all and moving you in your individual life towards greater love and greater wisdom as well. Well, thank you so much for watching that introduction. So grateful for you guys out there. I just love interacting with you. Facebook, Twitter, Google+, my website, nadiyashah.com, and the YouTube comments as well. I got some really great questions. Please do keep them coming. Should be some FAQ videos, I'm hoping, published right around the time of this weekly horoscope as well. Sometimes I'm asked questions that are a little bit more personal, that have to do with your unique situation. In that case, please do consider a personalized horoscope where I can do just that, look at your unique birth chart, and hopefully in some way continue to, as these videos do, remind you, infuse your life with hope, with inspiration, remind you that the universe is wise and loving and is moving all of us in a very, very wise direction indeed. I also want to add just very quickly, because a lot of you comment that you don't like the handheld mic. Thank you for, allowing me to engage my hands, or encouraging that anyways. I'm hoping, I did get my AC fixed. I'm hoping that you can't hear it. I'm hoping the sound quality is okay, but it's all a big experiment. And if there's ever a good time to experiment, it is Mercury shadow, Mercury retrograde. Great time to do experiments, right? Or great time to try things again that you tried before but maybe put to the side. So we're doing a take two. We're trying it again, and hopefully all will be well. So how all the wonderful celestial occurrences this week speak to you and your sign is coming up right now. Hello, fabulous Aries. This week we have got your ruling planet standing across Saturn. I said in the introduction that this can really feel like someone else is like sort of playing a father figure or mom figure, sort of playing grown up with you and limiting your actions in some way. Well, I gotta say that you are likely to feel that more than others, because after all, Mars is your ruling planet. Mars is your representative in the sky. You really want to watch a couple of things, given the way that this conversation is playing out in your special sky. This has to do with agreements. It has to do with conversations. It has to do with having that tough conversation. But it also has to do with negotiation to a certain extent as well, where it comes to having to reach an agreement. So this might be a time when you are offered that opportunity to reach some sort of possibly legal agreement. And it is sort of up to you to say, okay, how do I feel about this? Is this working for me? Am I happy about this? To ask yourself those questions. Now, I do think that some Aries out there may feel like they don't really have a choice, that they have to sort of come to an agreement now. And they're thinking, well, Nadiya said Mercury's in shadow, and I know that. And so part of you might not want to, but when these situations come up, when you don't have a choice, that's when you just have to trust that this is happening the way it needs to right now, for the highest good of all concerned, including you as well. And so if you're sort of hard pressed to make some sort of an agreement, trust yourself, go with your heart, decide what it is that matters to you. This can also be, I gotta say, if any sign is likely to feel a little bit held back, a little limited, yours is more likely than others to feel that way, to feel that sense of restriction. And you'll be surprised how much that restriction likely is coming within your own self-talk. So you're going to want to watch that. Conversation with someone you trust is one way that you can really negate this energy and infuse a sense of faith and inspiration back into your life. But make sure it's somebody that you feel really gets you on a level of emotion, on a level of heart. Could be somebody that you are in a romantic relationship with or otherwise. And this week, especially in love, it is that safe space that you create with another person that is the most inspired, those private moments that you have. Any kind of romantic exchanges that are likely to happen otherwise, now you want to be careful, okay? Don't flirt with someone you know it's risky to flirt with. But having said that, it is a time when it is the connections that you've already made with people that you already know that are likely to provide your life with the most romance. Hello, fabulous Taurus. This week we have got some really energy playing out for you in decidedly financial parts of your sky. So what that means is we've got Saturn and Mars both in financial sectors of the sky for you. I look at this and it says to me that you might be feeling some financial pressure. You might be feeling that there's pressure to either earn more money or spend more money. It can feel right around this time that the pressure is on in some way to meet an expense or just to prove yourself, to do what needs to be done so that you can earn the money that you need to, or at the very least access the funds that you need to as well. The thing is with money ultimately is trust. You gotta trust. That is a huge part of whatever it is that you choose to do to create more prosperity for yourself, is to trust that that prosperity is there. To do your best and surrender the rest is going to be a big part of this energy. Now here's the thing, when I see something like this, like the pressure is on, I want to say to you that when we have so much activity happening in decidedly financial houses of the chart, it does suggest that the money is there, okay? Because if the universe is saying focus on money, chances are the money is there. But it may not feel as easy as you might otherwise like. For some of you out there, this is going to be about you looking at your own issues of self-worth, healing deeper things, not just about financial prosperity, but all kinds of emotional, spiritual prosperity as well. Where is it that you need to raise your sense of self-value, to value yourself that much more? With this particular conversation as well, I would like you to consider that there might be, for some of you out there, something else that you really want to do, something else that inspires you, that you're thinking, wow, this would be really great, this could help me to create greater prosperity for myself. But again, feeling that sense of limits, feeling like, okay, how am I going to do this? How can I make this happen? How can I make the transition to make that happen? Well, what I would say to you is coming up, not too far away, coming up end of next week or so, we have a new moon taking place, and it is a new moon in your sign. I spoke about it in the monthly horoscope for your sign, and that is going to provide you with a great opportunity to launch in new directions, to plant seeds. So as you are considering what you could do to create greater prosperity for yourself, to create greater joy for yourself as well, and assert a greater sense of self-worth in the world as well, you right now might be sort of first of all facing your own doubts and your own limitations in that process. If you can navigate beyond that, don't give in to them. Strive instead to just give the energy to the hoping and the dreaming and the aspiration of it, instead of giving energy to the fears of it. Then you'll find that once we do get to that new moon in your sign just a little bit further into this month, you'll be able to launch with that much more clarity and that much more sense of purpose and direction. For those of you who are also like in love, okay, so what I mean, that wasn't a great segue. Let me just say that where it comes to love this week, because you might have noticed I've started adding like a little segment at least mentioning love, and that's really because friends and fans out there asked me to do that. And so in love this week, for love this week, we have a couple of interesting things happening between your ruling planet Venus and Neptune. So this is lots of dreamy energy, lots of hopeful energy. You believe in love, and this is great. If you're in an established bond, spend social time with that person. This is really great if you're in an established bond, to have that talk towards the end of the week, to go out with friends, to have some relaxed, spontaneous conversations will really infuse that sense of magic and really a sense of being swept away. And of course, this can also play out as well if you are open to meeting somebody new. If you're open to meeting somebody new, make sure you socialize this week, because you may end up being one of those people who does feel decidedly carried away. Hello, fabulous Gemini. This week we have got Mars entering your sign. It's the big news. Mars is entering your sign. This is very important. Mars entering your sign happens about once every 2 years, enters for about 6 weeks or so. When Mars enters your sign, it's your chance to launch again, to begin again, to move yourself in a powerful, purposeful direction. And it's really a chance for you to take ownership for the direction in which you desire your life to go. So where is it that you need to take greater ownership for what you wish to experience more of? And where is it that you need to act in ways that are more consistent and also more confident to manifest what you desire? Now, here's the interesting thing, and especially considering Mars is going to enter your sign and then stand across from stand across from Saturn in the sign of Sag. When this happens, I gotta say what's really interesting to me about this energy, Mars enters your sign, and right away you've got this tough conversation happening before the energy eases up for you. Before the week is done, the energy will start easing up for you. But to me, this suggests a couple of things. One is, you may be putting a lot of pressure on yourself, okay? Relax with that. The other thing is, this is very likely, and the most likely scenario with this is that somebody is frustrating you. Somebody with whom you have to interact regularly. They may be a partner of sorts. It might be romantic. It might be professional. But someone is frustrating you, is pushing buttons perhaps as well in the middle of the week. And so it's going to be up to you to understand where it is that maybe it isn't intentional. Maybe it is sort of this other person doing what they always do. Just right about now, you're feeling it more than other times. The other thing with this also is that ultimately this is about you deciding and understanding that wherever your happiness is, it is your decision and your responsibility to move yourself in that direction. Whoever it is that you desire to be, whatever change you know you've got to make in your life, this is your chance to make it so. But it's going to be up to you to seize that opportunity. Strive not to project it, but even if something should come up with somebody, the change might not be so obvious. So if it's a change, let's say it's professional, somebody you work with, the change might be like, okay, this is a long time coming. I really don't like this person. Let me start trying to figure out what I really want to do. That might be part of the change. Part of the change might be that you yourself are bringing a lot to the table, projecting a lot, bringing a lot of stuff to the table. And this may especially be true if you're in a romantic alliance, if you are in a romantic relationship, an established partnership. This becomes that much more true, where you may be sort of saying to your partner, you're so bad and look how bad you are and look at what you're doing. But the truth is that it's about you. Like something's going on with you that has nothing to do with that person. And you've got to decide what meaning you're going to make of the emotions that are coming up for you. Where it is that you feel limited, you've got to realize that you might not be as limited as you believe yourself to be. For those of you who are open to meeting somebody new, I gotta say, not the most romantic week to do that. Thankfully, once we progress towards the end of the week, we've got some really nice energy happening for you in a career part of the sky, in a money part of the sky. To me, this does suggest that you're dreaming big again, and it might be some sort of a romantic interaction, a moment, if you will, that leaves you feeling that, okay, maybe I can have everything that I want in love. But that comes sort of in the later part of the week. In the middle of the week, just go with it. Just be gentle with yourself. Keep the focus on you. You'll find that you're able to navigate the weekend, also thrive this week, make so much more of this week because you did just that, focused on your own power and moved yourself where it is that you truly desire to go. Hello, fabulous Cancer. This week we have got this very important conversation taking place between Mars and Saturn. So all signs are going to be feeling this. Everyone in their own way is going to be facing a sense of their own limitations. However, for you, this is happening in quieter parts of your chart. Now, what is really interesting to me about the positioning of this for you is, for some of you, this might play out in terms of the workspace, okay? It might be that something doesn't feel so good or feels a little off and you can't quite put your finger on it, but it feels decidedly uncomfortable for you. It will pass, okay? This can be, though, I gotta be honest with you, this can be feeling like sort of a power play, or somebody who is in a supervisory position, or someone who's just acting as if they're in a supervisory position, in some way imposing themselves on you. And so It's up to you ultimately to set those limits, to set those boundaries. I do see that for some Cancerians out there, it's going to feel a little tough to kind of call it in the moment, to call it like they see it. But if you can sort of understand that this is a temporary moment, strive to learn from it, but of course, maintain a sense of what you feel is right for you. Maintain a sense of ultimately what you don't want this week is to feel disempowered, right? And so the way that you don't allow that to happen is to be mindful that you are the one with the power. The power is in your hands. Ultimately, your life is up to you. And if you can keep that perspective, then this energy doesn't have to manifest with other people kind of acting, you know, like big shots around you for no reason. But rather, this energy can manifest with you paying attention to the work that's in front of you to do and striving for excellence in what it is that you do. If you do that, you will be working very well with this energy. But other than that, romantically, especially once you get to the end of the week, it is really, really good for you. You are one of the more blessed signs where it comes to romance this week, especially as we get to the end of the week. With Venus in your sign, speaking in sweet, sweet harmony with Neptune. This to me is very encouraging. This to me suggests that you are understanding how much love blesses your life and how in so many ways things are happening now that are only going to allow you to experience greater and greater love in the future. Whether you're in an established bond or open to meeting somebody new, you have got some positively magical energy on your sign as you approach the late part of the week. Hello, fabulous Leo. This week we have got a very interesting conversation playing out between Mars and Saturn. And so all of us in some way are going to be feeling a little limited, okay? I think for you, this sense of limits is likely to come in the realm of your friendships. It is very likely to be friends are on one side, love is on another side. And I think also when I look at this, it does suggest that a friend is putting pressure on you to have fun, to do something that ultimately you might see as indulgent. Now, there are times when this is healthy, right? There are times that this is good when friends kind of bring us out of our shell or out of our cave because they know that that's the best for us. But then there are times when you know that you actually need to be doing something and it can feel like you're being asked to indulge an energy or to spend your time in another direction that doesn't resonate as right with you. So you're going to have to decide which one of those two it is. But it does look like pressure likely coming from a friend that feels a little bit limiting. Now, this can be indulging in terms of joy and fun and, you know, indulging in terms of let's have a good time. This can also be indulging in terms of, you know, let's be a little romantic without any of the responsibility. But this can also be a friend asking you to, like sort of very spontaneously, like to take a gamble or to take a chance. If it doesn't resonate as right with you, you need to honor that. You know, sometimes when I see that it's a good time to buy a lottery ticket, I tell you, buy a lottery ticket. This is not that time, okay? This is not a good week to be necessarily gambling because that awareness of limits is there where it comes to those types of activities. And when we have that awareness of limits, it does suggest that you reach those limits and that you might even go past those limits. And that's something that ultimately you don't want to do. What you want to do whenever it is that you decide to buy that lottery ticket, you want to make sure that your energy is feeling prosperous, is feeling right, is feeling really open. So we've got this very interesting conversation happening. Be gentle with the people you care about. Be gentle with your friends. Strive to understand them because it can also be you that sort of projecting something onto them, like they might represent something that you feel that you are meant to get away from right now, or you feel that you're growing up in ways and your friends are not. Try not to judge them because that can also end up being the source of an interesting exchange that you don't need to have, that doesn't need to happen. Your friends are exactly what they need to be right now as part of their growth, as you are exactly where you need to be at this particular moment. Even though you may be feeling some pressure in the middle of the week, that energy will change. You won't be feeling that for that much longer. It's just a matter of a few days, We do have some interesting things happening later this month, and we'll talk about it when we get there. But again, ultimately this energy is temporary. It will pass. So while you are in this energy, strive not to judge others too harshly. Where it comes to romance, where it comes to love, for you in particular, we've got Venus right now moving through the sign just before yours. So this is a decidedly quiet space, okay? Even a secretive space, if you will. And actually is speaking with Neptune that is in a part of the sky for you that has to do with secrets you keep consciously. So you put that together, okay? It does suggest private moments, downtime, wanting that one-on-one time with somebody who matters to you. What you want to make sure is that you feel positive about the experiences. So make sure that if you're in an established bond, you're feeling good about the time you're carving out together. And if you don't, try to understand, is it reasonable for you not to feel good or not? Because sometimes it's just, feeling guilt being away from a kid. But it's a whole other thing when you know that you're supposed to be like you're playing hooky in a big way. That becomes a whole other thing. So you're going to have to find that right balance there. Those of you who are open to meeting somebody new, again, there's a very secretive energy playing out this week. Some quiet moments can take place, or at least the promise of those moments can present themselves to you as we approach the end of the week. Hello, fabulous Virgo. This week we have got this really interesting conversation playing out at the very bottom of your chart and the very top of your chart as well. So when we have this type of conversation happening, and ultimately, astrologically speaking, are very sensitive parts of your sky, it tends to denote an important time. A time of transition, a time of change, a time of evaluating things honestly, a time of accepting where you are and where maybe it is now you are either meant to go somewhere different or you no longer want to go. So ultimately, this is a conversation at the end of the day. If I had to pick one word, it has to do with restraint. Now that's something that you, more than other signs, can be good at, okay? Is that understanding that you've got to trust the process, you've got to be in this moment as part of creating something that's going to matter in the bigger picture. But when I see this type of conversation playing out, it does suggest to me a process of refinement. This is going to reach to areas of home, but also areas of work and career. This reaches to you feeling safe and secure with yourself and where you are right now in life, and with understanding what kind of legacy you're creating, how high you want to go, what your ultimate purpose is. This has to do with your family of origin and your understanding of where it is ultimately that you as an individual now are meant to shine and achieve something uniquely your own. So we've got this interesting dichotomy playing out. I look at this and it just suggests to me that you want to be mindful around areas, all these areas, having to do with career and bosses and what's happening with you on the home front, okay? So if you have a home-based business, this could be a time when you're asked to, whether it's give more or be more or present yourself as more than you previously have, in a way that might feel like it's being pressured onto you. This could be a time when you have to claim and declare yourself as an expert, and in the process be challenging some old messages. This is something also that can play out with this energy. But also this can speak to if you are self-employed. So you work from home, you're self-employed. This also can be a time when you have to present yourself and say, okay, you know what? I actually know what it is that I'm doing. These are the types of scenarios that may be playing out for you, but ultimately, what you want to do and how you want to use this energy to your advantage is to understand clearly that you have already achieved something that you can be proud of. You are right now establishing yourself as an expert more and more, but mainly that you have that solid foundation from which to rise as high as you wish. Where it is that maybe you don't, you're going to be honest with yourself. You're going to get some signals. Now, what you want to do with those signals ultimately is up to you. And what wisdom you gather from them, what meaning you gather for them really is up to you. So you want to be sure that you are choosing interpretations that empower you, choosing interpretations that ultimately help you to grow that much further. So be conscious of that, because there is that element playing out where there are different ways to understand a specific scenario or a certain message that comes through as well. Be wise, be open, but also trust that ultimately you have the solid foundation you need to go as high as you desire. Where it comes to love this week, we've got towards the end of the week this really romantic configuration playing out between Venus and Neptune. For you, this is happening in parts of the sky for you that are very decidedly about other people. It's about socializing and love and partnership, friendship, and connecting with someone in a genuine way. And so when I see this conversation, it suggests to me that if you are with someone, this is a time when you enjoy some social time together in the company of friends, and feeling that sense of promise and that sense of connection with this other person. If you are open to meeting somebody new, this is either a friend or a connection made through a friend that can certainly raise your sense of hope and belief that there is great love in the world for you. Hello, fabulous Libra. This week we have got this very interesting conversation playing out in very talkative parts of your sky. So we have got Mars standing across from Saturn. This to me suggests that you are in some way examining how it is that your message is being received. You're examining your own beliefs and how they are speaking to, or how they are reflected in what you say. Now, ultimately, I think that for some people out there, this to me is very much like a Freudian slip taking place. And what that means is you either say something and then you're like, wow, why did I say that? What did I really mean by that? What does that say about me and what I believe about myself? Like, these are the types of awarenesses you have. But it might also be that you want to say something, but you feel held back. You feel unable to say it. And it might be that you feel unable to say it because you know it's smart not to say it. But it might be that you feel unable to say it because of the given circumstance that you find yourself in. So if that is the case, if you're feeling a sense of limitation around that, then know that your chance to say what it is that you desire to say is going to come. Once we get into the very early part of June, Mars, in the same part of the sky, will speak in harmony with Uranus in your opposite sign. And what that means is that should be a really nice sky for you to say whatever it is that you have to say, whatever it is that maybe right now the universe is saying, you know, hold back, pull back a little bit. As I said in the introduction as well, like, this is not the week to, if you know that there's a conversation that's kind of long overdue, something, you know, that you want to like sort of put on the table or resolve, this might not be the week to do it, just because the way the energy is playing out, and especially for you because this is happening in conversational parts of your sky. You are one of those signs as well that really wants to the best of your ability. Now look, if it happens, it happens. It is what it is. But it's just so easy this week for you to end up in a conversation where you feel like the other person is either someone else is being overbearing, acting like a parent, acting like they're scolding you. That may not even be the case, but it might just be your perception, interpretation. But it might also be you, like that's not your intention, but in the conversation it may come across that way to the person you're speaking to. So you just want to be mindful of that, and the way that you're mindful of that is not to engage the energy, and instead direct the energy more consciously. And the way you direct it consciously is to be mindful of your words, be mindful of your thought patterns, be mindful of what it is that you're trying to actually say. In a larger sense, in terms of what truth are you trying to express, and also in a more immediate sense as well, in terms of just the vocabulary that you are using. For a few, very few percentage of you, small percentage of you, if you're doing something where you are trying to garner some media attention, I would say just pace yourself. If somebody contacts you, that's great. Just try to delay it even a little bit, just because it might come off, this whole energy, because it's happening in media sectors of the sky as well. It may just come off as if you are being asked questions that make you uncomfortable. That could be a scenario that plays out, and that might not even be the intention. But ultimately what you want is, because now you are going to have, you have Saturn, right now you have Mars and Saturn supporting these very media sections of your sky, if you will. Because we have that playing out, it does suggest that it may be good for you, right? You've got Mars there in the section that has to do, especially with getting your message out. You can do that, and there will be opportunities, but what you want to do is control the message as much as possible and not say something that you regret after the fact, which can happen as well. And so decide what it is that you want to say, and then, if you can, delay saying it for just a little while longer. Where it comes to love this week, where it comes to romantic bonds, towards the end of the week, we have a really romantic sort of weekend playing out at the end of the week. And this is thanks to Venus and Neptune speaking in supreme harmony. Now, Neptune is in a part of the sky for you that has to do with work. It has to do with job, okay? And Venus is in a part of the sky for you that has to do with career. And so I put this together, and just as you can put it together as well, this is romantic energy on the work front, on the career front, from a boss possibly as well. Now, ultimately, there's not as much stable energy right about now. So what I would say with this is just enjoy it. Whatever manifests, just enjoy it. See it as sort of a lovely way to engage ultimately some heartfelt energy. If you are in an established bond, it is really a great time to do something with your partner to integrate them more into your daily life in some way. Maybe take up some sort of health routine, a new health routine together that will benefit you both. Hello, fabulous Scorpio. This week we have got your ancient ruling planet standing across the sky from Saturn. And this is happening in financial parts of your sky. So where it comes to money, this is a time to be conservative. This is a time to be cautious as well. And it shouldn't be too hard. We do have right now Mercury in shadow. So Mercury is in shadow this week and approaching a retrograde time coming up very shortly. So when I see this, it does look like some expense you may be feeling like you should be spending money. Some expense might come up, or the opportunity to invest in something might come up. Not the best week for it to arise right about now. And so if you're asked for money to lend, to invest, this is the time to hold back. Like, just say to the person, okay, give me the information at the end of June. Give me the information later, once Mercury's done doing what Mercury does, and especially once you're completely out of these interesting conversations taking place in financial parts of your sky. This could be somebody asking for help as well, financially speaking, and you've got to be honest. You've got to be honest. I see a part of you feeling like, oh, I wish I had it to give. I really want to give it. You've got to be honest. You've got to stay honest with yourself ultimately about what it is. That conversation looks a little tough, but you've got to be honest about what feels manageable ultimately. Now, it might just be a feeling. It might not be an accurate perception of the situation. However, if that is coming up for you, if resistance is coming up for you, you've got to examine what's going on a deeper level as well. Now, with this, I would say, try not to keep your spending down. There's going to be a feeling that you may need to, especially right about now, sort of all of a sudden you need to contact financial institutions like banks and other places that may give loans or grants or things. Not always the easiest spaces to deal with. Money can be very emotional for a lot of people. However, I do think that the thing is, when financial sectors are of the sky highlighted the way they are right now, it means that money you need is there. It means that money is there. It just means that the universe is saying, pay attention to this, do what you need to do. And you may be actually just feeling that need to meet more expenses, or feeling like you want to work to do what you need to do to create greater prosperity for yourself as well. So it's great. There's a sense of ownership, but at the same time, there may also be a sense of urgency that happens. Don't worry about it. It's temporary. It will pass. And as you progress more and more into the week, especially as you approach the end of the week, a lot of that pressure will pass. So don't let it like upset you, because as I said, money can be a really emotional subject for people. Don't give in to that part of you that might be inclined to worry about that, because ultimately what you need is there. Just do what's in front of you to do, and your prosperity will manifest as it is meant to. By the time we get to the very end of the week, we've got this super harmonious conversation happening between Venus and Neptune, and happening in super harmonious positions to you, fellow water signs at that. It suggests to me that there's romance on offer, there's flirtation on offer, there's a sense of possibility and adventure on offer as well. Those of you in an established bond, it is like sort of thinking, yeah, let's do this. Let's have this adventure together. It is really you, more than most of the zodiac, are likely to feel that sense of being swept off your feet, whether you're with somebody or you're open to meeting somebody new. And if you are open to meeting somebody new, this is a really great sky for believing in the promise of love. It might be as subtle as just a flirtation. However, it is just the thing you need to remind you that the universe is abundant in love and abundant in your options in love as well. Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. This week we have got some really interesting energy playing out between Mars and Saturn. Saturn in your sign, Mars in your opposite sign, which means that you are going to be one of those signs feeling this energy more than most. It is going to be an important time all around for you in terms of you understanding not only yourself that much more deeply, but also what's happening sort of with another key person in your life as well. Some of you might experience this in the context of a romantic relationship. For others, this might be business partnerships, but it's really the universe saying, look, here's you and here's somebody else. Now figure out where that middle point is. Where do the two of you get along? With this particular energy, now this idea of projection, I spoke of in the introduction, it's so easy to project ultimately like sort of an externalized parent, right? We might feel like somebody is saying that we're good or we're bad. Somebody's bearing down on us, demanding something of us. And that doesn't feel good, okay? We have to be mindful not to engage that part of the energy, and you are going to have to be especially mindful of that. In fact, I do think that yours is one of the signs that you really want to be sure that you are putting off tough conversations for another week, just because it's so easy now for someone else to interpret that you're acting like a big boss, or you're on some sort of power trip when that might not even be the case. What you also want to be mindful of this week as well is that if you do end up initiating those conversations, it could be somebody else that you're perceiving is behaving that way with you when that might not be the reality of the situation as well. Now, do keep in mind that in just a few weeks' time, we are going to have Saturn leave your sign for the summer. So that should be really awesome for you. And you will experience a shift of energy, but it's almost as if just before you get there, the universe wants to heighten the energy for you, wants to remind you like, okay, this is some serious lessons here. There's some important work to be done here. So it's going to invite you to embrace those lessons that much more. So this is going to be your chance to see within yourself and to realize that you are now grown up and you can deal with things in a much more mature way, especially where it comes to your partnerships, again, romantic or business. Those of you in an established bond, this should be a really interesting sky for you, because to me this does suggest like sort of having a one-on-one, having an interaction where you are both of you asking some tough questions, sharing some emotions, sharing some deep down feelings. Might not be easy or comfortable to share, but if the love is there, then you can actually use this as a great opportunity to work through it as well. If you find that, again, if this is a romantic partnership, it's supposed to be equal. So if one of you is acting like you have more control than the other, you are going to have to find that right balance there. If this is more of a business partnership, then like I said, it could be that all of a sudden either you or the other person is acting like they have more power. Don't do that. Strive to be equal, because both of you are bringing value to the table. Those of you open to meeting somebody new, this conversation is about limits, okay? Ultimately is what it comes down to, and feeling limited. Now, of course, we're not limited, and everything passes, and this too shall pass, absolutely. But because of that energy, it does suggest to me that if you're meeting anybody new right now, it seems ultimately to be about you realizing that, you know, sort of not necessarily seeing things very optimistically. I'll always be honest with you, always. But yeah, that could be a factor. Like if you're open to meeting somebody new, you may just come across somebody that leaves you saying like, wow, I am so glad I'm single right about now. And that could be either somebody interacting with you romantically, or something you witness in another person, and understand that ultimately you'll be projecting a lot in that situation. But yes, this particular sky has more to do with being aware of where we are and where it is ultimately that we feel we're not able to fully move ourselves in a direction of our choosing. Again, it's just momentary. It might not even be based in any kind of reality, and entirely perception, and it will pass. But after this, you are going to be approaching, especially a couple of weeks down the road, once Mars starts speaking in harmony with Uranus. What a great time for you, an amazingly romantic moment for you. If you are open to meeting somebody new, that is the time when it could happen quite by surprise and quite by delight. So trust your life and you will get there. Hello, fabulous Capricorn. This week we have Mars standing across your ruling planet, Saturn. When these two planets stand across the sky from each other, as they do once every 2 years or so, it does tend to represent a time that we are being aware of our limits. And for you, this becomes that much more true. It really is an awareness of where it is you want to push forward. And I'm going to be honest with you, this might even be like sort of feeling like you want to like really have at it with somebody, or be a little aggressive with somebody. And I would say, as I look at this, that there is a lot of value in restraint. But also, here's the thing, the parts of the sky that this energy is playing out for you is not open, right? And what I mean by that is this is quieter parts of the sky. And so it looks like you're feeling, either you're having some really strong emotions you can't put your finger on, you can't exactly give words to, and you don't understand why, you need to sit with them for a little while. Or it just could be that you feel you can't like fully act out impulsively or in the moment. It may be some like a moment with in the work sphere with a supervisor or a coworker. But at the same time as this energy is happening, you are also being made aware of your limitations as well, and where it is that you need to hold back as well. And you may not necessarily be able to understand why you're holding back, just that you feel that that's what needs to happen right now. And I'll tell you one thing that I've seen again and again and again, a lot of times, a lot of people regret saying things, regret reacting a certain way, but it's not very often that people regret not acting. It's not very often that people regret not having that angry emotional outburst. Most of the time, what we want to do is, if something happens that bothers us, we want to be able to speak about it in a way that's honest and mature and intelligent, and in a way that suggests we have that ability to reflect on ourselves. You may need a little bit of time. You might need that space. And it might also be that what you are perceiving is not the actuality. So there might actually be a disconnect between what's happening and the actual intention behind what is happening as well. So you are going to have to decide and make that intention this week to be really patient and really kind, especially to your coworkers. You really got to do that with your coworkers this week, because they may, I'm always going to be honest with you, they might be getting on your nerves right about now, and you might not know why or how to put your finger on it. This can also be, I gotta say, this can also manifest this particular energy this week. I would just ask you also to be mindful of how you're feeling in terms of your body, because health-wise, You might be coming up to some limitations as well, or be mindful of limitations. There might be some joint issues that come up. Now, this will pass, right? It seems rather temporary. And so ultimately, when I see this, it suggests be silent, go within, look to yourself. There is something healing going on there. And so trust that. If you need rest, which is suggested by this energy, trust that need. It might be that you're training for a marathon and you want to push through, but this is the week to allow yourself that rest. If you're feeling anything in your body, rest will be the great cure for you. Where it comes to romance this week, we do have a very positive communication happening between Neptune and Venus. And this is happening in parts of your sky that are particularly romantic. There's talkative energy, there's romance energy as well, relationship energy as well. This is awesome. It really is one of those times when you're believing in love. If you're in an established bond, it's saying the right thing at the right time and just feeling like completely in love and feeling like you're in a pink cloud, especially as we get to the end of the week, based on some very sweet words that are expressed. If you are not in an established bond, you're open to meeting somebody new. This is also having a message exchange or having some sort of key communication that reminds you that there is love in the universe available to all of us, and that certainly includes you as well. Hello, fabulous Aquarius. This week we have got your ancient ruling planet, Saturn, standing across the sky from Mars. Now, Mars is in a part of the sky for you that is ultimately quite romantic. It's about enjoying the good life. And it is about enjoying life in general. It has to do with self-actualization, creativity, but also the type of love that has to do with the flutter in the stomach, being alive thanks to love. So we have Mars newly in this part of the sky. And normally that would mean that you are really open, you're flirty, you're feeling alive, and it really is sort of love that is putting a spring in your step, a decided spring in your step, a decided energy for you as well. So we've got that playing out. However, in the middle of the week, Mars is going to speak with Saturn, not the easiest conversation they're going to be having. So it's almost like you need to confront your own fears around those very issues. Confront your own insecurities around those very issues before you're then able to move forward from them and engage the more fun part of this energy. So this can be, because it has to do with creativity and fertility, if you want to have a child, this can be sort of an energy where somebody might say to you, like, tick-tock, and that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel good for anybody. Don't ever say that to anybody, is my advice. It's on one of the list of things. If someone were to write a list of things, don't say these things to anybody. That's one thing you really should not say to a woman. Just saying. But that might be a message that comes out at some of you right about now. But this might also be like sort of having a realization about, do you want children? Do you want more children? It might be having a conversation that makes you aware of where you actually stand on that as well. And so if you want that, that's awesome. This can be like sort of showing you that, okay, if you want that, here's the different things that you have to consider. But this can also be like, okay, if you don't want that, it's okay to be honest with yourself about that. It's okay to embrace that as well. Now, this energy to me, because it has that romance edge to it as well, or part to it rather, it does suggest to me that there might be a feeling of being a little bit of a restriction around this, around just having fun, right? So if you're in an established bond, this is sort of, you might have your partner say something to the effect of, don't be frivolous. This is the type of thing I'm seeing come with here. Like your partner may be asking you to step up or be more mature about something when you want to enjoy their company and remember the things that brought you together in the first place. You want to have more fun. You want to feel more light. You want to feel more free. But the partner is saying, hey, let's be a little bit more mature. Let's get a mortgage, and you're like, no, let's just, live in a hotel room. Like these are the types of conversations I see you having with a partner. It might be that you're projecting some stuff on a partner as well, that you're projecting that they're putting some kind of limit on you when that might not be the case. For some of you, that sense of somebody projecting limits on you might actually be coming from a friend or in a social occasion where you are like acting out in a certain way, and you feel like someone's judging you for that or being like a little bit tisk about that. Don't project that. Just be you. You know how to do that. You know how to be centered on yourself and connected to you. And when you are so much more at peace. So don't give away that peace right about now. For others of you, if you're open to meeting somebody new as well, again, this is about being aware of limitations to a certain extent before you can get to the really fun part of this energy, which is really going to kick in over time once we get into June. Before you can get there, you may have to first deal with your own sense of like feeling like, do I really have options? What kind of people can I actually meet? How comfortable do you feel flirting? How comfortable do you feel just being in the moment and that feeling of life that interacting with someone can provide you? That's what you want to be mindful of. But again, keep in mind, there's a feeling this week of limitation for some of us. And you need not take that on. You need not make that your own. But you also don't want to inadvertently project that for somebody else either. So be mindful that where it is that you feel limited is about you. And it's just a feeling, and that feeling is going to pass. There certainly is a lot of love in the universe available to all of us, but it really comes down to willingness. So some of you out there are going to be made aware of where you might not be willing, where you previously hadn't accepted that or fully realized that as well. By the time we get to the end of the week, we've got this really romantic vibe playing out. It's a very dreamy, idealized vibe, and this is playing out for you financially and in work as well. This to me has to do with working on a dream. This has to do with having an ambition or the possibility of something that could make a lot of money in the future. It might, right? But right now in this moment, it seems more like an aim that you're going for. It seems more like an ambition or a dream or a hope that can manifest tangibly further down the road. It might not have that quick reward, but at the very least, especially if you do anything that involves an artistic sense, a musical sense, you've got lots and lots of cosmic energy on your side to create something that in the fullness of time can create greater prosperity for you. Hello, fabulous Pisces. This week we have got Neptune in your sign speaking in harmony with Venus. Now, granted, this is happening towards the end of the week, but I do think that this particular conversation says to me that while a lot of people around you might be feeling a little tense, and certainly you may have your moment as well, for the most part, you are building towards an energy that feels decidedly sweet and ideal. It's almost like a pink misty cloud around you, you know, like they say rose-colored glasses. This is the rose-colored glasses on in full effect, to that matter. And this is also feeling a sense of your own ability to manifest amazing things, to manifest whatever it is you want for yourself. And that includes love as well. And so this is a really great sky if you want to nurture the love you have or be open to new love. Now, ultimately, it's inspirational. There's an idealism to it. It's not necessarily, this sky is not necessarily saying that you're going to meet somebody and this will be it. That might happen. But it's more saying that you believe that that could happen. It might be a particular situation that inspires that belief in you. But ultimately, because there is such a fantastical element to this energy, it does say to me that enjoy yourself and keep it about the joy. Keep it about the fun, because that's when you'll maximize the potential that is there. Those of you who are in an established bond as well, this is about rekindling the fire, rekindling that feeling that keeps the two of you together. Those of you who are sort of, as I look at this, if you want to have children, this can be a time that it feels, and if before you thought you didn't want to have children, it's almost as if I'm seeing some of you out there say, oh my God, I love this person so much, I want to have so many of your babies, before when you thought before that, oh, I totally don't want that. Like, that's the kind of feeling I'm seeing happen, like just feeling so swept away and so in love. So it could be quite nice for a lot of Pisceans out there. What we also have happening this week is Mars standing across the sky from Saturn. Mars at the very base of your chart, Saturn at the very top of your chart. This suggests to me on home front, on career front, lots of attention being paid to the two. This suggests to me possible changes on the home front as well, where all of a sudden you realize some repairs have to happen, some changes need to happen. You might feel more motivated and more driven to make changes happen for you on the home front as well. Keep in mind there's going to be a little bit of a process of refinement. I do think that if you are one of those people who's hoping to have something new, you might come across something but realize that it's not manifesting for you the way that you know it should. So if you are meant to be somewhere, it has a way of coming together with a certain ease and a certain flow that might surprise you sometimes. That is when you know you're sort of riding the energy of the universe. But when you are sort of feeling like there's resistance and you're fighting and you're striving and you're trying to make this happen and you're trying to convince this person, that's when, and it's ongoing especially, that's when you need to pull back a little bit and check in with yourself and see what's going on there, where it might just be your own energy. It might just be you and your own energy sort of blocking good to come about. But it may also be that the universe is saying, you know, hey, you need to refine this, or you need to change course a little bit. You need to think in this direction or that direction. These are the types of things and considerations I actually see playing out for you and coming up for you as well. But do keep in mind also, it's Mercury shadow, soon will be Mercury retrograde. Big sweeping changes, not necessarily recommended. Repairs, reconsiderations, renovations, awesome. But it's when you're going on to new pastures that you just want to be a little bit mindful, because you just might change your mind in the fullness of time. Well, thank you so much to all signs out there. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.